Good afternoon, everyone. As you are joining, please take a moment to A, mute yourself unless you are going to be speaking, and B, could you please type in your actual name, first and last name on your screen, please? And I do see a bunch of people not muted, so please mute. It makes the sound much better when everybody is muted. And
Muted and typed
Sarah's there.
Where do we type our name?
on the screen.
Oh, my name's typed in.
Okay, again, everybody who's not muted, could you please take a moment to mute? Makes the sound much better. As people are coming in, I may have to
Applicant, of
repeat
course.
this a couple of times. And please take a moment also to type in your first and last name. I'm going to give this a couple of minutes to get more people are coming on here in the waiting room. And as people are coming on, let me just pre-warn you that the operator of the Zoom is me, and I'm not usually the operator of the Zoom. So please be patient and bear with me if I do something not correct. Do I want the names in the chat? Kathy Greeter, I am not even 100% sure what that means, but if you are saying, okay, Brenda's iPhone has a question, I guess. So Brenda, I'm going to try to unmute you and see what your question is.
There really isn't one. I goofed.
Oh,
Sorry.
thank God. Okay,
Me too.
no problem. All right. I'm gonna try to lower your hand for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Actually worked. Okay. All right. It's 5:03. As more people come in, so back to Kathy Greeter has a question in the chat. Do you want the names in the chat? I think if you mean asking questions in the chat, that's okay. But what we're going to try to do here is, between the moderator, the town clerk, and myself, we're going to give a little introduction to how town meeting is expected to go this year, and then just simply open it up for questions. So right at the moment, I don't know if people can see this or not. Oh, I asked people to type their names. Where did you want them? Kathy Greeter, I'm sorry. What I meant was on your screens, you know, the people who are shown have their names. That's what I mean. So like Sarah Ann, it would be good if you could change your name to Sarah Ann, whatever your last name is. That is what I mean. So right now we have about 24 participants, including the three of us. So I'm just going to give a quick overview and then have Nancy and Sarah, the town clerk and the town moderator, fill in. So just for everybody's knowledge, I'm Libby Gibson, town manager. And as we know, town meeting is Saturday, June 5th, starting at 9 a.m. The rain date is Sunday, June 6th, starting at 9 a.m. If town meeting, please, everybody who's coming in,
and
please
you know,
mute.
I just sent you the town association.
Okay, I'm having to mute you if you're not muted. If town meeting begins on Saturday and we're not finished on Saturday, we will recess until Sunday, June 6th at 11. But if there's a rain date, we will start at 9 on Sunday. The town meeting will be outdoors at the Backus playing fields behind the Nantucket Intermediate and Elementary Schools. We will have tents and chairs set up for voters. We will have a separate area for non-voters. We anticipate having a sufficient number of chairs, about 800. However, we are suggesting that non-voters may wish to bring their own just in case. We also have a side suggestion for non-voters. The town meeting will be live streamed on NCTV's YouTube channel and on the local cable access channel. So we recommend that if you're not quite sure whether to come or not, since you're not able to vote or in most cases speak, you might want to just watch it remotely. Seats will at this point be physically distanced. Porta potties will be available. Hand sanitizer will be available. Microphones will be sanitized between each use. Masks are requested. Now, our guidance that we're talking to you about today and our explanations are pre the governor's announcements of yesterday. So we have not yet worked in what the loosening of all the restrictions quite means for town meeting. But at the moment, we are planning to set up things as if we are still in COVID, and that may change as we move towards town meeting. We will not have a projection screen. We will have e-voting. Handheld devices will be issued to the voters who are present. The moderator will discuss amendments in a moment. We have non-voters are allowed to participate pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 2B of the Town Code. And I'm just going to quickly read what it says. The chair or vice chair or their designee of the Advisory Committee of Non-Voting Taxpayers will be allowed to speak but not vote at annual and special town meetings on matters of concern to the non-voting taxpayers. FYI. Parking will be available at the school parking lots. Extra handicap spots will be so designated. Carpooling is encouraged. Walking, if possible, for those in the nearby area is encouraged, and use of the NRTA wave is encouraged. What should I bring to town meeting, you may ask? Water bottle. There will be a water bottle filling station. Snacks. Food will not be provided. Sunscreen if needed. Your town meeting warrant that you should have gotten in the mail by now, hopefully. Please bring that with you. Bring a writing utensil and a pad of paper. Bring a portable charger for your cell phone and or portable device. Please, what you should not bring, your pet, smoking materials, or alcoholic beverages. We weren't sure we had to say that to people, but then we decided it would be better to say it than not say it. There's a lot of information about town meeting on the town website. The FinCom has its own public informational session about motions next Monday at the 24th at 4 o'clock, also on Zoom. NCTV will have, we are working on videos for some of the warrant articles that will be on NCTV. We're going to have some promos on the radio. The voter's guide is available. It's out. It's on the town website. And as I mentioned, NCTV will be live streaming the meeting. So that's really just the most of the introduction that I wanted to give. And for those of you who came in after a couple of minutes after 5, I just wanted to let you know, if you are able to, please actually change your name. If you don't already have your first and last name projected on this Zoom screen, please make sure we have your first and last name, not initials and not just a first name, please. And also everybody mute unless you are going to be talking. And once Nancy and Sarah have given their information, we'll open it up to Q&A, and I will try to manage that as best I can. Probably best to raise hand if you can. So Nancy Holmes, our town clerk, do you want to fill in anything that I missed?
Sure. Thank you, Libby. Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm sorry I can't change my name on the screen, but it is Nancy Holmes, town clerk, if you don't know me. And Libby, you did such a great job that you said just about everything that I was going to say, but I'll go over some of it briefly again and a little more detail in a couple of areas. And then I know after Sarah speaks, I think Libby's going to open it to questions. So again, back is playing fields, 9 a.m., rain date on a Saturday, June 5th, rain date Sunday the 6th. We're going to enter the field to the town meeting. There's an open gate sort of in the middle of the fence. We're going to enter through there, and the check-in stations will be just beyond. So if you want to drop somebody off that you're with, you can absolutely do that and go park. And as Libby said, there's going to be a special handicap section adjacent closer to the actual field. We'll park at NIS, NES, NHS. There's going to be police officers and some of our election workers helping to direct the parking there. The tents, again, Libby said this, they're open air, but dress accordingly, look at the weather, maybe in layers. As we all know, the day can change as the day goes on. Non-voters, as Libby also said, if you possibly can, if you're coming, you do choose to come, perhaps bring a beach chair, but we are going to have some chairs available. And again, this is also reiteration, but try to bring your warrant, a writing instrument, lunch, enough water for the day, sunscreen if you think you need it, a hat. And we'll have the porta potties, hand sanitation stations in the porta potties and in each tent. We won't have the big maps that we're used to inside, but we will have smaller paper copies of the maps, and the microphones will be cleaned after each use. And then just like at the 2020 town meeting, you go to check in, there'll be our traditional old town meeting where you see about 10 people sitting there. It won't be like that. It will be like last year, when the first year when we used the handheld electronic voting devices. So there'll be about 6 of our check-in election workers. You will go to them. You can go to any person. You don't have to go alphabetically. You'll give them your name as you normally would as a voter, check in, and when they check you in, they're going to give you a handheld voting device. Your voting device will have a little color code on it that assigns you to a certain section, because the way these frequencies work is, you know, the green devices will work in the green section and the red devices will work in the red section. I know a lot of you may not have been at town meeting last year, but they are extremely simple to use. They are secure. They come in their own virtual private network. No one's vote is tied to their name. The displays, the voting results will be displayed on a screen, and if everybody can't see it, we'll announce.
I really apologize for that, everybody. That is something that apparently happens from time to time in Zoom sessions, and it's disgusting and horrible, and I'm really sorry that it happened here. I think we can hopefully move on. Sorry, Nancy.
Yeah, no, your apologies.
Brian, please just help me keep an eye on that.
Yep.
Make sure that doesn't happen again. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So again, we will have a run through of the handheld device, a practice run through. They're very simple to use. If anybody has any issues with their device, there's going to be plenty of extras available, and that will all be explained at the beginning of the meeting. They were very well received by the 200 or so people that were able to attend in 2020. And I hope that you'll all find that a pleasant addition. I believe that is all that I have, except to add, you know, as we said before, this meeting was planned outside late to be held outside late last year, 2020, based on public health and the situation with the pandemic at the time, and also the potential space needs of the school. If they were going to have children back and have to have the students back, have to have them very socially distant, it was hard to give up any of their space. So that was the decision that we made at the time, and it's going to be a different and new experience for all of us, and hopefully a good one. And we look forward to seeing you all then. And that's, I believe, all that I have for the moment. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy and Libby. I will just add a few sort of logistical comments, because we're basically, this is a back to basics meeting for us. We're not going to have any of the technology that I think we've become used to with the Novissimos behind the screen working their magic, projecting the amendments and the warrant articles. So it's going to be important for people to bring their warrants, obviously bring a writing implement. You might want to bring something to write on, like a clipboard or something. I'm hoping that it's not going to be too windy. We're asking anyone who has either an amendment or a main motion that they're going to be bringing that's of any length whatsoever to bring sufficient copies to hand out at the meeting. And if possible, to make the text available in advance of the meeting. So for example, if there's an article that received a negative recommendation from the Finance Committee and the sponsor wants to proceed to have that article discussed, it's incumbent upon the sponsor to provide the motion for that article. If it's going to be anything different than what's printed in the warrant, and it's going to be sufficient to say, we're going to deviate a little bit from our motion practice, it will be sufficient to say something like, moved that the subject matter of Article 350 be adopted. If what you're adopting is what's printed as your warrant article, then you're in good shape. If, on the other hand, what you're proposing deviates at all from what's printed in the warrant, first of all, you need to provide it to me ahead of time so that I can make a determination that it's within the scope of the article. But second of all, and I think most importantly, you're going to need to provide copies to the voters so that they have an idea of what they're voting on. I'm going to be able to read in a lot of, I can read in a lot of the motions and amendments if the change is just a word here or there. But if it's anything of substance, it's not going to really be possible for the voters to understand what they're voting on unless they have it in the form of a handout that you've provided in advance. I understand that there may be at least one proponent who's going to also provide a Q code. I can't guarantee that all of this technology is going to work. So I think in particular, it's going to be important to have paper copies because we know paper copies work. We're not going to have Wi-Fi, I don't think, at the field. So anything that's dependent upon a Wi-Fi connection is not going to be helpful. The way the tents work, we don't have, it's going to be very different than one big auditorium. We're going to have 3 or 4 tents put together. I understand I'm going to be up on a stage that they're going to build, but I'm not necessarily going to be able to see every person who's sitting in every part of every tent. So that's why the electronic voting is critical. It's also critical that people act in a professional and appropriate manner for a public meeting. It may be that you're going to have to get up and go to a microphone to be recognized to speak. We will have some mobile microphones, but for the most part, it's going to be a stationary microphone in each tent. Oh, let's see. I think Nancy covered what you should bring. You know, you have to dress like it was January. So for warm and cold, layers, I think, potentially gloves, scarves, hats, suntan lotion, bring your own water, your snack, and definitely bring your patience. I have heard that there may be a motion to take articles out of order. If that happens, that would be a vote. I think the logical articles that might go together, there are 3 articles, 24, 36, 97 maybe. The 3 housing articles may make sense to go together.
Sarah?
Yeah.
Just to add to that a little bit, thank you for mentioning that. I had totally forgotten about it. There has been some internal discussion between select board members and FinCom members about exactly what the moderator is mentioning. And it is possible, not definitive at this point, but possible that there may be a motion from the Finance Committee to move 90, 97, and 38. I believe those are the ones to be right after the town financial articles, which end at 24.
Okay.
Just so people know and can prepare. prepare for that. And this may come up at the select board meeting tomorrow night.
Okay. One of the things that we're concerned about, obviously, is making sure that we have the electronic voting available, particularly for any articles that are going to generate a large amount of discussion. And that's one of the reasons for thinking about moving those articles forward. I think that's all I have at the moment. I'm happy to take questions, though.
Okay, so the finance director is a co-host now, and he has agreed to manage the questions. So I think we're ready to take them if people have them. Thanks, Brian. And also, just so people know, we're not prepared here to talk about any article in particular or any motion. It's simply about how town meeting is, we expect it to run.
So people can raise their hand at Libby and we'll.
Yes, sorry, Brian, thank you. I see Mary Longacre has her hand raised. Do you want to unmute her, Brian?
She can actually unmute her. She should be able to mute herself.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Thank you. So on the assumption that the seats are distanced, would it be allowable to bring something like a small candle stand or sized table so that you could put your snack and your water bottle and your warrant and all of your accoutrements on a horizontal surface? Would that be allowable, or would those be turned away at the door?
Nancy, maybe you can answer that one. I would say, I think that's going to get a bit cluttery. And I think that, again, it's an outdoor town meeting. It's going to be a little inconvenient for things, and that type of thing might just have to go under your chair.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I hate to say it, because maybe you'd be the only one, Mary, but I kind of tend to agree, you know, it could fall on somebody's foot or something. And I think it's probably best maybe not to do that, although it would be very helpful. I can understand your thinking of it. And if I could just tag on to something that Sarah said about, you know, sort of, she may not have the best sight line to everybody in every tent. So in addition to, as Sarah mentioned, you know, if you feel you haven't been noticed to speak, you might want to queue up at a microphone, socially distantly. We are going to have election workers in each tent. And they're going to have, you know, we're trying to figure something out, like maybe a little flag. We're going to make every effort to make sure that if somebody has their hand raised, the moderator knows that, even if perhaps she can't see you. We're going to have runners and election workers in each tent. So we'll do what we can to assist people to get heard. It's just, you know, as we said before, a bit of a unknown for all of us until we get there.
Arthur Reed was next with his hand up. Libby.
Go ahead, Arthur.
Yes, in the unhappy event that the meeting does not end by the close of the day on Sunday, whether as a result of weather delays or the length of discussion, what is the plan as to what happens at that point?
I'll start out, I guess, or Sarah, you.
Well, I think our plan is to go to Monday, Monday afternoon. I can't remember if we said 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock to start.
I think we said 4 p.m., I believe.
Yeah, we'll see how many articles we have, but it would be to go to Monday at 4. If we go beyond that, we really are going to run into trouble. And we're not obviously going to be able to go that late because we don't have lighting. And it will start to get dark in the tent, I would assume, at a certain point. So we'll just have to see how it goes. I'll certainly go as late as I think we can stand to go on Saturday, assuming we don't get rained out. And again, same thing on Sunday. And hopefully we won't have to get to Monday. But it is a big warrant, so.
Thank you.
That was a good question, Arthur. Thank you.
And we will, I didn't mention this, but we will do the normal call of the articles. So we will hopefully dispose of a fair number of them that way. But of the articles that are called, we'll just go through them and hope to get them done.
Kathy Baird had her hand up next, Libby.
Kathy?
Thank you. So I'm Kathy Baird, and I'm on the advisory committee of non-voting taxpayers. And we're thinking of perhaps speaking at town meeting. Can you please explain this year, especially how will that work? Will that be possible, and what we should do to prepare?
I would say you should get in touch with the moderator as like starting now, we are being informed. So that's great. And I think that Kathy, somebody should be identified as the speaker, the representative, and that name can be provided to the moderator. And as far as when they would speak, I guess, Sarah,
Yeah, Kathy, if you can let me know what articles in particular the non-voting taxpayer designee wants to speak, that would be helpful. Because we have electronic voting, we're not as constrained as we sometimes are as to where you sit, because you won't be able to vote no matter where you sit. But we may have a small spot designated for you to sit. It would be helpful for me to have you seated somewhere where I could see you and remember to call on you, or whoever your designee is. So please be in contact as you know that information. You clearly do have the ability to speak on matters that are of importance or interest to the non-voting taxpayers.
Thank you. Will there just be one person that's allowed to speak on behalf of all non-voting taxpayers, or is that the way it works?
Well, I won't say that you have to have the same person speak on every article, but it would be preferable if there was one person designated per article that you're interested in.
Okay, thank you.
So I believe as it says in the charter, I think Libby read it at the beginning, it's either the chair, the vice chair, or someone that you have designated.
Thank you.
other questions?
Is that a hand?
There's no other hands up right now, Sarah.
Okay.
People can sort of think about their questions, but I'll throw one out to everybody. Has everybody gotten their warrant? Let me rephrase. Has anybody not gotten their warrant? Raise your hand. You did not gotten it. I'm not seeing any hands, so hopefully that means they have gotten it. It is available on the town website. The voter's guide is available on the town website. We will have copies of both at town meeting, but we really do hope people will bring their warrants.
Libby, as a fun fact, perhaps you could share with everybody how long Dennis's town meeting took last week.
Dennis's town meeting took less than an hour and a half. It was outside. It was chilly. They don't even have half the articles we do, granted.
How many articles did they have?
Like 40 or less. 112 is different. Oh, here's another little tiny bit of an announcement. If anybody wants the warrant in another language, that can be done on the website. You just need to go to the right bottom corner and choose your language on the website, and it should be able to be available to you that way. People want it differently, and we are working to get the voter's guide translated into Spanish, I believe. Anybody who didn't hear me mention it at the beginning, again, the Finance Committee, I said the wrong time earlier, is meeting, has a general information session of their own on Monday, the 24th at 5, not 4, to review any questions people, they're not really going to review motions, I don't think, but they're going to take questions about any of their motions. I think we invited the planning board to come on. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to or not, but so that's FYI if people want to get info from the FinCom. I'm desperately trying to think of other information about town meeting that we can give. Hopefully we've provided enough information that, and that's why people don't have any questions.
Mary Longacre has her hand up, Libby.
Mary?
Libby, will there be any breaks taken during the day as we're going through town meetings, so the lunch break or something, or?
Yep, good question. Sarah?
Yeah, we'll take a lunch break sometime around noon-ish, depending upon where we are with the articles. Probably 45 minutes for lunch, and otherwise I'm planning to start as promptly as we can at 9 and just continue all the way through to the end of the day. It's going to be a long day, I think.
It's going to be a long day. And again, with regard to the safety protocols, we really struggled a bit with this, but right now our instructions say that masks are requested. And for now, we're leaving it that way, again, until we get a little bit closer to town meeting, and hope that perhaps more people are fully vaxxed by then. And I'm not sure we're going to say, throw them off, nobody wear them. Certainly people can wear them if they're more comfortable doing that. So it may be that we leave it up to people's individual preferences, but for now we're saying that we would want to request them.
Kathy Greeter has her hand up, Libby.
Sure. Kathy?
Hi, Libby. Did you already mention anything about dogs? Are people allowed to bring their dogs?
Thank you for that. No, they are not allowed to bring their dogs. Please do not bring a pet of any kind. Thank you for that. It seems like it might be fun to bring your dog and have them sit under your chair or whatever, but it never works out like that. Mary?
And I'm not intending at all to draw an equivalence, but I would assume you should also not bring children, or any non-voters would not be allowed in the tent.
I don't think we're making any prohibitions against children. I have seen people bring their children to town meeting before. We would hope they would be, calm. And non-voters will not be under the tent. No, they will be in a separate area as they normally are.
Except potentially for the designee of the non-voting taxpayers.
Yep.
It really isn't an appropriate venue for children. It's going to be a long day. We've got a lot of business to do. So hopefully people will not bring their children.
Yeah, I think they would have a terrible time there.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. I agree with that. I don't think it's an appropriate venue. Sometimes you have an infant or a babe in arms or something like that a mother can't leave, which is understandable. Yeah, and also, as you said, no pets. I just wanted to add one other thing, Libby. It's about the non-voters being under the tent. There's going to be a separate designated area for the non-voters. But it's possible, depending on how many people actually show up, that we may be able to move that area to under the tent. We have to reserve the seated area for the voters first, and we're going to have some extra chairs on hand. We just, don't know how many of our voters are going to come. But if there was a large area under the tent that we could designate as a non-voter area, I don't think we can rule that out once the voters are seated. But they will be in their own section as they normally would inside as well.
Thank you for that clarification.
Libby, was there anything we wanted to say about parking? People will be directed as they come in.
People will be directed as they come in, and I think, the more able you are, the maybe it would be best if you parked a little farther away to give people who might not be able to get around so easily a more accessible time into the field area. Nancy, do you have more info about?
Just that, the police and Lieutenant McVicker has made our parking plan for us. And so there'll be police officers, I'm not exactly sure how many, and also some of our election workers. And I suppose it will be the opposite of when town meeting is at the high school, where the high school fills up first and then people move up further out. I'm sure that NIS complex will fill out first and the high school last, but it's parking per usual, except there will be people around and a police presence around. I'm sure that if the first parking lot is full and you're coming into Bacchus Lane, I'm sure they'll wave you on to the high school. And I just also like to add, because many people that don't have children in school anymore might not know, when you go into the behind NES, there is now a connecting road to the high school. And that will just be going one way towards the high school. You can't go, we're not going to be going both ways, but if you were in there and you should be, coming up empty-handed with a spot, you could take that campus connector and it will bring you to further lots out at the high school. And then obviously, drive slow and watch out for pedestrians. And, as I said earlier, if you're coming together and you want to drop people in your party off on Bacchus Lane at the entrance, you can drop them off and keep going. You're certainly welcome to do that. And no parking on Bacchus Lane itself.
Good, thank you for that. Other questions anybody might have? Or thoughts about, do we have enough public outreach going on? Can you think of any other outreach we should do? I'm going to be at Rotary on Thursday, this Thursday, the 20th. Going to be at the Town Association next Tuesday at 4. Rotary is this Thursday at 5. And we had Civic League Meet the Articles this past Saturday. I think you can watch that on NCTV. So there is quite a bit of information out there. Suppose if you really wanted to, you could go back and watch FinCom meetings.
Kathy Greeter has her hand up, Libby.
Sure, Kathy?
Just another thought, Libby, will there be water filling stations? If I know they have portable ones around sometimes for the community sailing and things like that. Would they have something like that available so people can refill their water bottles?
Yes, we will have a water filling station.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I can't really think of anything else. Sarah or Nancy, can either of you? Any last tidbits? I would emphasize what Sarah said earlier about please be patient. We've never done this before. We are probably going to make a mistake here or there. Please bear with us. We're dealing with a lot right now. And we're trying to be, good humored about it and have a decent town meeting in less than desirable circumstances.
And fingers crossed for a day like one of the days last weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of inclined to end here unless there's any other question. And if people are maybe not comfortable with asking a question here in this forum, You're more than welcome to email myself, Nancy, or Sarah. All of our emails are online. And in the voter's guide, there's an intro about this. It's a bit of a different, it's a different intro than in prior years because of the town meeting being outside. And it does have some information about amendments in there. All right, I think we'll wrap up then. Thank you all for taking the time to attend our general information session about town meeting. We really appreciate it. And if you think of anything later that you would like to ask or give some input on, we'd be happy to take it. And hopefully we'll see you all at town meeting.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Bye.